Hi folks, and welcome to yet another edition of Who Moved the Market. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. In the house today is Mangalam Maloo. What's up, Mangalam?
Well, what's down
What's
is
down?
what the question
Wrong
should
question.
be today. Delta Corp, Nazara, all of them are down. And Delta Corp is the biggest cut that we've seen ever since the stock is listed, over 20%.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering what has gone so wrong, blame it on the GST Council. So who's moved the market today? It's actually the guy sitting in Delhi. Because we had a meeting of the GST Council yesterday, and among a lot of other decisions that they took, the one the market has really taken note of is the fact that now casinos and online gaming will be taxed at 28% GST. So that's the big headline. Let's do one thing, Mangalam. Let's kind of break this down because there is the casino category, then there is online gaming, and we have a listed company, Nazara, when it comes to online gaming. But let's start with casinos because that's where the cut is. Like you're saying, I think Delta was down some 25%.
It was down 25%, now holding with a 22% cut. I mean, give or take a couple of percentage points here or there. But the short point is that it's erased all the gains that it made in this year itself. And it's not that it's been a big outperformer in any case. So from a long-term standpoint, the stock hasn't returned market returns. Let's put it that way. There are a couple of factors that have impacted Delta Corp the most in the announcements that were made yesterday. You alluded to the announcement of 28% uniform tax on online gaming and on casinos itself. So let's tackle both of these. On casinos, for Delta Corp, what hurts is that this 28% tax will be applicable on the face value of the chips purchased by, in case of casinos. What basically happens is that a person who wishes to go to a casino, wishes to spend 100 rupees in the casino, you give them 100 rupees.
I thought you were going to say 100,000. Then I would have changed that with, when Mangalam walks into the casino with at least 100,000 in hand, then what happens? What's the kind of tax rate that applies? But anyway, we'll stick to 100.
I don't go to casinos. I'm not allowed in casinos. Anyway, so 100 rupees, say, for just for calculation's sake, you go inside, you go at the counter, you give them 100 rupees, you get tokens worth 100 rupees, you can go play and encash those tokens, whether you win or, I mean, if you lose, of course, the money goes away, right? Now here the problem is that now if I give them 100 rupees, I will get tokens worth only 72 rupees. So that, what it does is, it enables a sunk cost at the start itself of 28 rupees.
I need even better luck to win.
Irrespective of what happens, I have lost 28 rupees already. Right? So now I get 72 rupees. Now for me to make money on that, at least 40% gains is what I should be making on my current tokens that I get, for me to actually go ahead and break even.
40% gain just to break even, just to get your money back.
That's roughly 28 out of 72, right? So just to break even. Earlier this was zero. So it basically tilts the risk reward in favor of the casino as against a person who's betting. So it's like, a cricket analogy is something that we use here very often. It's like a bowler bowling at you from 5 yards ahead of the crease. So it's coming at you much faster, and it's shifted the scales in favor a little more of the bowler than anything else. So that's one business risk itself. Will people still want to go bet when they have to pay 28% upfront itself at the cost of chips? The second factor is that everyone was betting on value unlocking of Delta Corp through the IPO of Adda 52, which was their online gaming. Why
so even that gets hit now?
That gets hit because of this 28%. So valuation markdowns will happen out there as well. So these two factors have caused a big business related problem. The third problem is the technical problem. Before going into this news, the stock was in FNO ban. It's a futures stock. FNO ban implies that no new positions can be taken in the stock overnight. So all existing trades that are happening are either trades that will happen only intraday, or these are trades that are earlier positions which are being liquidated. So here as well, the thing that is lopsided is that if there are sellers and there are no ready buyers because they can't take the positions overnight, then the impact cost will be much higher. Right? So as a result of which the stock price decline would be a lot more.
Compounding the selling, you'd say?
All of this. So three factors together leads to a 22% decline in the stock price.
Okay, got that. So, that's what's playing out for Delta. And I just want to clarify here because I was speaking to some tax experts and, some lawyers as well who kind of litigate on these matters and are working with some of these companies. The view there seems to be that the industry was lobbying to make a distinction between game of skill and game of chance. I mean, I just said, right, you need more luck at the casino now to even break even. So you could argue that, how much of it is luck, which is chance, and how much of it is really skill. So the industry's whole argument, especially in online gaming, was that, hey, let's look at these differently and treat game of skill differently when it comes to tax. Don't tax it at such a high level because it involves a certain degree of skill. The GST Council seems to have thrown that argument out of the window completely, and for all practical purposes, we're talking 28% flat, right? Game of skill, chance, whatever.
Irrespective. So basically what they've done is, and this is, I'm paraphrasing from the GST Council minutes itself, it says casino, online gaming and horse racing to be taxed at a uniform rate of 28%. So basically, skill, chance, irrespective, everything has been clubbed with horse racing. So casino
and lottery. Lottery is at 28% as well.
And lottery is as much as of a chance than it is of skill itself. So what it does is it also impacts the listed space is what we're talking about, but a lot of startups, they've started online gaming, and this picked up the most during the pandemic, where people were unable to go anywhere, and they looked at, it's thrilling nevertheless, right? So everyone started using their phones and started going online to play games, etc. And that made a big dent in the industry itself. As an industry, it grew, and there was huge potential for that. If had the government been a little more rational in differentiating game of skill versus game of chance, chances are that this industry could have really been a much bigger one, with the kind of money that has been coming in, with the kind of interest that has been coming in, and with the kind of penetration that smartphones and internet has in the country itself. With that going away, the current problem is that it is an impact, but not a lot of people would enter the gaming space itself. So it will enable some sort of disadvantage for Indian players here. Now, if I want to play, I would perhaps play on Betfair or something of that sort, which again is an international player, of which India is a small part of the revenue, not a large part. Because if it's a large part,
it benefits international platforms and not the homegrown online gaming startups.
One, international platforms, and secondly, the illegal guys. I mean, if I'm playing in cash, then obviously, or if I'm playing, say, there are a lot of workarounds to it, and I personally have no interest or understanding of these things. But logically speaking, what if I played on the app with coins, which are fantasy coins made by the app, and those fantasy coins were later settled on in cash in a market that you and I don't know about. So there is an app that you launched, Surabhi Poker, and then every
not that I know anything about poker, but still,
and every rupee that a person, supposed rupee that a person wins, is in S coins, right? So by the end of the game, if a winner has 100 S coins, they can exchange it in cash from someone else.
It's just going to be tough, very tough to track, and because the tax incidence is so high, typically when taxation rates are so high, all people try and look for these loopholes, and it kind of encourages the not so pretty sort of side of things, and I completely take that point, and that's something that we have to watch out for. Now, on online gaming, let's also talk about the other company, Nazara. So Nazara is a company that has a slew of online games. They've got esports, they've got this Kidopia, which is the learning part of their business. And then they have also a small segment which is real money gaming. And I guess it's important to help viewers make that distinction, that when you're talking about online, so casinos are completely gone, 28% up front on the chips you buy, that's very, very clear. Now let's come to online gaming companies. Here, I think it's important to understand, as Nazara said, that there's a segment called real money gaming, and then there are other online games which don't involve real money. So I guess the interpretation is that right now only the real money games have been hit by this tax, right?
I mean, if there is no real money, what will you tax?
Well, what will you tax?
Exactly. So the real money gaming currently accounts for about 5% of Nazara's revenues, but from an industry standpoint, it has been the one that is growing the fastest. So it's growing at a CAGR, if I remember correctly, from a Red Seer report, growing at a CAGR of over 60%. So they've literally nipped it in a bud. It's 5% of Nazara's revenues, but it was supposed to be almost 10 to 20% of their overall revenues. And this is the company's conversation with us here itself. The growth path that it was on, it would have been a much larger contributor of their overall revenues. So yes, right now the impact on them would be limited by virtue of their contribution being just 5%. But again, that takes away the growth that 5% would have brought to the company. And what is the stock market? It is basically present pricing of all the future value, right? If the future value itself has been taken away, then that explains why the stock is down 5%.
Absolutely. So that obviously is something to watch for. Even the only thing is that some of the legal experts, some lawyers that we spoke to, they are saying that the last word on this has not been said, because A, there's litigation already ongoing in different courts in the country between this whole game of skill, game of chance debate that's been going on. But now we need to see, because you have a new GST law, there'll have to be amendments. There will have to be fresh legislation as well that's moved to put this in works. So how will the ongoing litigation sort of play out with this new rate of tax? We have to watch out for that. But safe to say that I think a lot of people in the online gaming world especially would be very disappointed today.
A lot of people in the online gaming world will be disappointed. A lot of people who are in the casinos business would be disappointed. Also, you spoke about the legal aspects, etc. I mean, one of the promoter-related entities of the promoters is Zia Modi, promoters of Delta Corp that I'm talking about. It was one of the best legal minds in the country. So all you can say
but you reminded us of that,
yes, all you can say is that if there is any legal way out of this, Delta will be the best place to do it. By virtue of their in-house expertise that they have.
Oh yes.
Right? So if someone can do it, it's Delta. The question is, if they can't do it, then that means no one can. Because, I mean, you have the best here and they are unable to do it. And maybe the industry is in for a rough ride. The last word, like you said, hasn't been said on it. And maybe there would be some, what do you say, brave investor who would look at this 20% dip as an opportunity to go ahead and buy Delta. It would be, according to me, no different from betting in a casino as well. Because right now, it's
you don't know, it's a black hole right
now. Not much of a game of skill, it's a lot more game of chance betting on any of these regulations, because you don't know. No one knows.
Well, okay, let's end on something optimistic. So here there is, what happens next, and stocks that are falling 20%. I want to end with a positive aspect of the GST Council meeting as well, which is the way F&B, food and beverages, are being taxed when you go to a multiplex. Now here there was some confusion. Some theatres were looking at an 18% rate, but yesterday the GST Council came and said that no, F&B at multiplexes will be taxed at 5%. I was personally hoping that this will mean that price of popcorn at PVR go down, but apparently not, because of the way the tax is
So I'll tell you exactly how it works. Okay, so there are two laws in the GST space itself. The first one is that if you're a cinema goer, I mean for cinema tickets and services at cinemas, for tickets less than 100 rupees, it's 12%. For tickets priced more than 100 rupees, it's 18%.
Okay.
So everyone clubbed all the services in a cinema hall to these itself. So if your ticket price was less than 100 rupees, even your food would be charged at 12% if you booked it online. And if you went to a restaurant, because it's this, not a restaurant rather, went to a multiplex
and actually bought your food there,
it would be 18% because everyone thought it was cinemas. However, the GST tax for restaurants and F&B, QSR, quick service restaurant space is 5% without the input tax credit.
Okay.
So what is an input tax credit? I buy something, I pay 18% GST on that, I add some value to it, I get 18% GST on it, or I charge 18% GST on it, for which I have to pay it to the government, and the money that I've paid for the input that I paid, I can claim in terms of input tax credit. So that would mean about 5 or 6% GST that I would be net paying over the total money that I would be paying would be 5 or 6% of the price that I'm charging the end consumer. Now for restaurants, what they've done is they've said that you can't charge any input tax credit.
It's a flat 5%
GST. It's a flat 5% which you have to pay. So net it is by and large the same, 18% with input tax credit or 5% without input tax credit. So they're saying that when it comes to the ticketing, you treat it as cinema, so you ask for 12% or 18%.
Depending on the price of
the ticket. And when it comes to the F&B out there, you treat it as a restaurant, for which you charge 5% GST minus the input tax credit. So the fact that these guys are not getting input tax credit does not mean that your price of popcorn will go down. It's just that they will pay 5% on a 100 rupee worth popcorn as against 18% on a 100 rupee worth popcorn, on which they would get 80 rupees worth, input tax credit or something.
And PVR told us that at least PVR, the chain, was already levying tax at a 5% rate.
That they would have. This was just a confusion, right? So the larger players would perhaps have been on the right side of law, I presume.
Correct. And therefore, there's no status quo, no change. So price of popcorn doesn't go down, but at least it doesn't go up, which is always a great thing when it comes to taxation. All right, Mangalam, thank you very much for joining in and helping us make sense of all this that's going on, the chips and the slots and the popcorn and the game of chance. But we will go back to things of skill now, which is what we always do on this show. That's Who Moved the Market. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you again tomorrow with another theme.